Hey, John Harrison here with Built Different podcast number 2. We're very excited to bring this one to you because it's a question I get all the time in the industry from friends, family, people I don't know that know I do construction. And it's something that no one really talks about very much. And so I really think it's a great subject for everyone out there. It's how to do research on construction companies. So, once again, I'm John Harrison, second generation contractor. Been in the industry since I was 14 and 54 now. So, I've seen a lot of ebbs and flows in the industry and spoke to a lot of people about a lot of different things that have to do construction. And when it comes to doing research, I'm sure myself and everyone else out there would agree that word of mouth is a great way to find a construction company, someone who's already worked with them, or a family member that has a friend and they've known them since they started out. They know their second, third generation. But I think before we get too far in the how to's, let's talk about how not to find a construction company. And that's through a home service provider. Why do I say that? Well, I'm not going to say that how they all work is bad. It's not true research. You can't, it's like anything in life. You can't take and simplify things down to making one email request and phone call and thinking that all your research is done. As a matter of fact, last night I was invited to a friend's house and he's going to be moving soon. And I sat on his couch with him for over an hour. And he was looking at a bunch of houses down in the area that he's moving. And he's not going to be making a decision on a house for 4 to 6 months. But he's already starting to weed through the details so that he can see what he really wants, how he wants the house to be set up as far as entertaining, if he wants open concept, but possibly have some areas in the house where all he has to do is shut a door and not have to clean the entire house when people are coming over, and how close it is in proximity to work and his church, and he's taken all kinds of things into consideration, right down to a list. And it made me think about today and how we've been in my office thinking about how home service providers can be good and they will find you construction companies out there. But if you only research the companies that they give you and you don't research the actual company that's providing that info, you're doing yourself a disservice. And it's not going to take you long. Just go in and put it on Reddit, say it into your Alexa or Google, and just see what's out there for reviews. I would focus on the homeowner portion of the reviews, and you're going to find all kinds of crazy things. I'm not going to mention any specific, but there are multiple lawsuits that were lost by some of them out there. You'll find that they target new construction companies. And they call them, or the construction company calls them because they're lacking appointments and they're lacking work. And I got to say, I have made the call before. And you know what they said? They said, you're not going to get any real leads until you have 10 reviews. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. It's probably going to take about 2 months. He's like, you can get reviews right away. You got friends, you got family, you got people out there that I've always felt like I've been a little bit behind on my reviews. And I see other companies and they're blasting reviews up every 10 minutes. And I'm like, there's no way they're doing that many jobs in a month. So where are they all coming from? And I'm not saying any local companies out there. As a matter of fact, I know people in multiple companies that are in Metro West, and some of them are very, very good companies. But we didn't get that. Why? Because we actually are trying to get actual reviews of customers that we've done business with. So that's one thing I want you to take into consideration. But as you're doing the research on the home service provider, and like I said, you'll want to check from the customer's point of view, that is the homeowner, you'll see some where pictures will match other pictures of other companies. And something that I saw that I had never thought about, but I've seen that when I've reviewed the different service companies out there, where companies will do good, they'll get a couple bad leads and they'll change the name. And then they'll go out and get 10 quick reviews on the new name company. Meanwhile, it's just the same old company that has run into issues. And now all of a sudden they place a new name on it and they're out trying to hustle reviews and go out there and get business. I am not against companies out there working hard, but there has to be a level of commitment to doing it the right way for people to really get true reviews. And with the fact that a lot of the home providers are targeting new businesses, I'm gonna tell you a great way to safeguard you're from getting caught up in that, where you just see that they got some good reviews and they've been in the industry. Maybe the company's been around for 4 years, 5 years, or whatever. I wouldn't go by that because there are some great companies out there that have only been around for 4 or 5 years. There's some not so good companies that have only been around for 4 or 5 years. What I would do, and it took me a while to think about it because I really want people to watch this and start to activate these different things so that they can make sure they get good companies at their house, is look up the CSLs on the business. Now, why am I so into that? Because you can look and you can see when they opened their CSL and how long ago it was. And so if you have a company that's 6 years old, but the CSL was opened back when they were 28 or whatever, and now they're just getting into doing work for homeowners, there's a good chance that's a good company because you can't maintain a CSL if you're out. The state's going to crack down on you. They're going to make sure that you're doing things right. The home service provider is going to make sure you got enough reviews so that they can get you leads. Because why is that? That's how they make their money. And that's what it's about. It's not about finding you great people. It's about them getting paid for leads. So look for the CSL, and that's going to tell a major story. So let's just say you have a company 6 years old, and the guy's got a 6-year-old CSL, or no one in the company has a CSL. How are they doing work? You know what they're doing? They're paying a contractor to use their CSL to pull permits. That's all over the industry. And you want to know what reminded me of that? An appointment I went to 2 days ago, and it's in Metro West. And I met with the guy, and I walked through, and the addition was framed. A lot of the rough electric was done. Some of the rough plumbing was done. I started to look around, and I'm seeing things that I can't believe in the frame. So I start to talk to the guy. What happened? He hired someone over 3 years ago. The project shut down. He got the permit 5 years ago. And the guy was like I can't remember I think he was a painter, but he got a friend of his to put his CSL license up for that particular project. They're in the middle of a lawsuit right now because the guy never finished. He didn't even have the ability to, and talked the homeowner to take in about 10 feet of floor out of the second floor. So when you're on the first floor and look up, it's this beautiful big cathedral, and it's stunning. Except that there's no LVL on the ridge holding that up. And that's the stuff that can happen. And you got to do your CSL and HIC. It's important, but CSL is the one where you sit down, you take a 4-hour test, and you need to know specifics in the industry. And every 2 years, you got to go do continuing ed. CSL stands for Construction Supervisor's License. You cannot pull a residential or commercial permit in Massachusetts without a CSL. And like I said earlier, what is that? You can't get it without doing a very long, arduous test where you know how to use the construction super code book and virtually find anything in the industry you need to know about every aspect of construction that's out there. Now, HIC license, home improvement contractor license. There's no, just so you know why I had said the CSL is more important than the HIC, because to get an HIC, you got to pay $150 and that's it. There's no test, there's nothing. And you do have to redo it every year. I think that the HIC is there though, so that so that the state can watch and see if anybody's made a complaint against your HIC. So it's not a bad thing to know about, not a bad thing to look into. But like I said, the CSL means that person studied, and first they had to get signed off for multiple years of doing construction to be even able to go and take the test. Then they had to pass a very arduous test. And what are you looking for? You need a company that's been around at least 10, 15 at a minimum. And how do you do that? How do you do the research? Where do you got to go? The Office of Public Safety and Inspections. If you go there online and you can put the name, the city of the contractor, or his license number under the search through that site, it'll tell you everything about them. It'll let you know how long it's been around, if the CSL number is still valid. It'll tell you any hiccups they've had along the way, and it'll tell you if they're still licensed in the industry. So really a great way to do solid research, just like my friend last night, where he's starting months and months in advance. And I'm gonna tell you one other cool part about that. Really doing serious research. So I go to a lot of appointments with people who are gonna do ADUs and additions and new kitchens and new baths, and it pretty much falls into two groups. And they're both excellent customers. Both groups are excellent. But you have the one that's done tons of research and they already have some stuff sketched up on graph paper, and they already have a picture of the vanity they want or the lights they want to do. Awesome, awesome customer. And what's the good part about that? I see their vision immediately. What's the not so good part about that is I see everything they want, but sometimes you can't do some of the things they want because of specifics to their house as far as plumbing and electric. And then you have the other guy, and this is the one I like a lot too. They're about equal. You have the person who knows that they want a new bath, but they haven't made any of the decisions. Why do I say that? Because I get to walk through with them, look at everything together with them, go down and look at their electric panel and see what they can do so that they're directed in a way that I'm telling them right up front what you can and can't do. And then we look at their plumbing and we realize a few different things with the plumbing where I can actually direct and stand there and show them what they can and can't do. And then as far as cosmetic stuff, the same thing. And I get to also, this is another really cool part to that. Let's say they have something that they want and they have to have it this specific way or they don't want to do the project, right? And it requires some structural improvements. I get to sit with the structural engineer up front as they're designing this particular part of the project, and I can point them in certain directions, not only to do it a little bit stronger and a little bit better, but a lot of times engineers, the ones we work with, are very good and they're very well schooled. And the good one, I have one right now that he used to do work in the industry when he was younger going through college. So when he's sitting down putting it on paper, it kind of works out a little bit better. But when I'm involved the whole time, if they're missing a little something like that, we work together and it really makes for the perfect project with less hiccups all the way through. And it, which makes me think of a project last year that we did, and we were only brought into it very late in the game, and all the engineering and design work had been done. And actually, when I gave the contract, I had specify in the contract, I can't really price that until we open it up and see what's going on. And that's awesome. Customers like that you put that in so that they know it's coming. But then when they see what it means once you open it up and you start showing them where they're at and everything, the work can stop for a while and we have to figure things out halfway through for longer than we expected. And they understood it when you explained it, but now when they're actually going through it and when we're in their house every day for 2 months and it doesn't feel as good as when they sign the contract, they can get a little disappointed about stuff like that. But if I'm involved or my team is involved right from the beginning, right when they're starting to do the design work, and we can go in and we can put portholes in so we can see what's going on in walls, and we can design electrical to work out really nice and stuff like that. It really makes for a different project. And at the end, those clients were very happy. And the biggest reason why that worked out as good as we did is I talk about it in a lot of my videos is my father taught me, don't tell people you're perfect. You tell them you'll come back until they're completely satisfied. And that's kind of the rock or the foundation that we stand on. And that's what made that work out great. In the end, everybody was happy. So back to positives. A really good way to do your research and to figure things out is, like I said, who've worked with us before. And there's tons of good construction companies out there. Tons of good ones that you probably do not have a relationship with anyone that knows them or has worked with them. So I am going to make a suggestion to you in that situation. Look for video testimonies. You're sitting there, the customer's room, right in front of the project, and they're telling you how it went right there, face to face. They're explaining to you step by step how that company worked with them. And that's after the project is done and they've had no trouble stroking the check. And great time to hear about how everything went on their project. But the Better Business Bureau, very good way to do really solid research. Chamber of Commerce, very good way to do solid research. Once again, back to bad research, thinking you can make one phone call or one email to a home service provider and thinking they're going to check this, they're going to check that, they're going to check this. It's just not the best way. So, a lot of what I've been talking about is the negatives of home service providers. But I'm going to tell you right now, they do serve a purpose in the industry in a few different ways. Home service providers come out with great articles and market analysis to give homeowners information they'd probably not be able to get unless they really digged in the internet or had specific magazines being sent to them where they're updated on things that are going on that they wouldn't know otherwise. And it's typically really, really relevant stuff. I'm also going to throw one more thing out and say a home service provider is better than doing zero research. So if you're a super busy person and you have a super busy family and it's really hard for you to do any of this stuff yourself, take the time out to find the CSL or to check on an HIC, then it's better than doing zero research. Just as you're picking people or as you're getting names and stuff, know that that home service provider is getting paid by every company that's coming out to meet with you. And that's how they make their money. That's pretty much the message I'm trying to get across. But if you're looking for a company out there that's going to stand by their word, they're going to do everything they said they were going to do. We're going to tell you right up front, we're not perfect, but we come back until you're completely satisfied. Brittivia Homes would love to come out and sit down and go over your project.